Now, before I kind of go into it and go into lots of different things, I just want to give everyone a quick overview, a quick introduction in case they don't know you, right? So Sister Fatima is a qualified Alima. She is a Da'iyah. She is an author. She's like award-winning. She's also someone I would consider a journalist, and I think you're a real leader, mashallah, for the different sisters out there. So there's a huge amount of history, a huge amount of knowledge, and all this kind of stuff that I want to go into in this call. But before I do that, the first question I wanted to ask you, sister, was what was 10-year-old Fatima like?
10-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, subhanallah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. 10-year-old Fatima was a very happy child. I grew up in Hackney, okay, which is like quite a deprived area of London, in a council house. But I thought we were like the richest family in like the world, you know, because of the way my parents never made us kind of feel that we were living without. 10-year-old Fatima was very happy at school. I was taking part in everything I could. I was doing calligraphy. I had an amazing head teacher who really, his name was Mr. Mines, Ken Mines, and he really like saw the young people who were at the school and our talent, and he just wanted to nurture that. So I was like the narrator in school play. I was helping with the school magazine, drawing pictures for it and publishing it with the head teacher. And I also, believe it or not, started a little dawah organization in my school, in my primary school in Hackney.
Wow, at like 10, 11?
Quite funny. Yeah, because I think one of the things about my family was that, you know, my dad is a scholar from Deoband.
Yeah.
So he was a mufti. He came to, so living in London at that time, so this is like the 80s, I'd say there were a lot of Muslims in Hackney, but they were not necessarily very knowledgeable. So what would happen is I'd go to school and, you know, we had, and they'd have lots of questions, or sometimes they'd have misconceptions about what was Islamic and what wasn't. And so often I would hear things, like I just remember once I came to school after having had a haircut, and all the girls ganged up on me, right, for having a haircut, because they said it's guna, right? Guna. Do you remember that word, guna?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, so they said to me, it's a sin, it's a sin. And so I would go home and I would talk to my dad, and I'd say, Dad, is this true? Is it a sin? What? You know, like all these misconceptions that people kept, their parents had told them. I would ask my dad, and then I'd go back to school with knowledge and inform people of what the truth was. And also, there were non-Muslims in my class who would ask questions. For example, when I started wearing hijab, they would ask questions. So I figured that since naturally my dad was a knowledgeable person, and, you know, I had knowledge that I could share with people, I just wanted to galvanize that. And so I started this thing called the M Team. It wasn't very imaginative.
Okay.
I think it was because we used to watch the A Team at the time. You know, the A Team was on TV, so I called it the M Team. And I created, and one of the great things about my family was my dad ran a computing center, which was quite an amazing thing in those days, because not everyone had a computer at home, you know. But we did. We had a computer and we had a printer, a laser printer as well. So what I'd do is I'd write newsletters for the M Team. I made the logo and everything. And I'd print those newsletters, which were just kind of motivational things for mainly the Muslim students at school. And I'm talking primary school here, right? And I'd get these envelopes from my dad's office, fill them, photocopy pictures and books, Islamic books that my dad gave me, children's books, maybe photocopy a chapter, staple it, put it into the envelope, and I would give them out at school. And we literally used to raise our pocket money for charity. We used to do all sorts of little things like that. So I think that's where it all started, in primary school.
That's a very, very different story to, I guess, most 10-year-olds, mashallah.